It's always interesting when you make decisions and you think to yourself, do I have something important to say? I mean, do you overthink things, or you just say, you should be transparent, open, and honest when you have something you want to talk about. And this is Warrior Junior, and we're going to talk about natural fitness and health and how most people think and what most people do, what most people get from working out. So let's just jump right in. So who am I to talk about, health and fitness? I'm not an influencer. I'm not anybody famous. And this is one of the main problems. We're seeing these guys out there that are using anabolics. And I don't even want to say their names because you can definitely see these guys, these young dudes or older, and working out with Arnold. They're promoting themselves, and that's good. That's good that they're making names for themselves. But are these people, these influencers, do they know anything? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not. I'm questioning. I'm questioning how much they know. You see these guys, and I mean, again, I don't want to give them any more attention than they have, because it just seems like that's the only way to, as an influencer, to get people to watch you. You have to be an abnormality. You just can't do things the way that, like, Jack LaLanne did. It's just amazing. It's amazing to me that I shake my head in disgust because the God, there's so much to say. The Fit Expo is coming up in a couple weeks, and in Anaheim, and what's going to be there? It's going to be these people, these influencers. It's not about fitness. And I know I keep going back to Jack LaLanne. I say, but God, they put these people there that are just taking steroids. These huge fucking guys, or these influencers, and that's what they're saying. That's what fitness is about. This get big, but and then what happens is these people, like, they get big, and then once time starts to add up, even it might be when they're young, there's like this huge price that these guys pay. Most, if not all. Big is relative, and big, you know I spent a long, long, long time in this. Not as, and it's just really amazing to me that This is what the youth are looking at, and this is the example. They're saying, "Well, wow, this look at these guys. They really know what they're doing." And I love the term the natty. The like it's making fun of people that don't take steroids. Wow, really, really. I remember I saw on YouTube this one thing. It said natural bodybuilding is a joke. The guy puts in it shows these guys, they don't look very impressive. But let's start at the beginning. The male body is not meant to look impressive. It's meant to be efficient. Really just got to understand that first. When you see anything, there's no such thing naturally as big and cut. It does not exist. It doesn't. Because there's no such thing. Without the use of PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, steroids, whatever, you are not going to build a physique that's like on stage that is mind blowing. It just does not happen. There's no such thing. The genetic predisposition does have some play in some things. Some things can't be faked though. There's guys that can do calisthenics. It's not faked. I mean, that's real work. I know because I work on these things. So I got way more respect for guys that do the work. They're really doing the work. What they're showing you, than these guys that you're looking at. You're like, wow, look what that guy looks like. You know, and it's just amazing that's what seems to get all the attention. Now, again, yeah, there's guys. And again, I don't want to mention names, and they can do exceptional workouts and stuff. But what my main focus here is to try to move toward a natural, like this could be like an offshoot of what I consider fitness. The thought process of like, you know, well, no, what you got to do are these generic exercises that Arnold that showed you the doing, the compound basic exercises, and that's it. That's all. That's the only way to think. And then 1 gram or 1 gram protein per body weight, per pound. That's the way to do it, and just do it this way, and go buy some supplements, and that's it. This generic way of fitness and bodybuilding, generic. And you go into any gym, and what you're going to see, bunch of guys doing the same generic, was it hammer strength machines? They sit there, get on the phone, and generic. And most people they don't look like nothing. So I don't know what's going on in their mind, what their agenda is, what their goals are, if they have any, why they're there. Because that's where you go to the gym to get in shape. You know, Now I'm in my 50s. The way I look at it, I'll say this in the nicest way, or I don't even mean I'm not here to be nice, but you can't do calculus before you understand basic math. Gyms, especially in Los Angeles here, it has become more of a social thing. This type of, I don't know, people going there just to go. I don't know what's worse, to go to the gym just to pass time, go there to talk to people. Because again, they're on this, I never bring my phone to the gym because your mind can't be in, two places at once. It's not supposed to be. In order to extract what I would consider maximum value from what you're doing, it really takes, that Cal Newport talked about this deep work. And most people, they just don't have that. They seem to just don't understand what I would consider the fundamental basics of even gym etiquette. Let me give you an example today. My gym has, I don't know, in the main area, 5 or 6 benches, which can be, inclined, you can move them. And I'm looking, they're all taken by people that are sitting on their phones. I call these the generic out there. The bench that was furthest over, this guy had the weights on the bench. Most of you know that benches are kind of padded, for comfort. You're not supposed to rest your weights on a bench because it wears out. That's number one. Number two, this guy wasn't even using the bench. He was just using it to rest his weights on. So he would sit on the bench. Then when he was ready to do his standing curls or whatever, and I'm just sitting there going, and then I look at this guy and doesn't look like nothing, and he doesn't, and I hate to, you are a reflection of what you know, basically, when it comes to working out, like now the guys that taking stuff like that don't know that much, but they got incredible bodies. I mean, well, an argument can be made there, different things, but it's a subjective thing because as a natural competitive bodybuilder, having done 9 shows, over the past 2 years, you can in clothes, you might not look impressive, but on stage, it's what's underneath. And when I started competing, I weigh a little over 140, I don't know, 141, 2, somewhere around in that range. But I've been 185, fairly solid, but not stage, you know, and in clothes when I was 185, because I have this kind of thin structure, you can't really see, but people are like, wow, you're walking around and, you fill out your clothes and my arms are way bigger than I was, but again, everybody that knows that competes, you have to lean out. We're talking natural, which gets almost no attention. I've always wondered that. I've always wondered why I go to these compete in these natural shows. And that's all it is some friends and family of people competing. Like, but then these giant shows, the big ones with the freaks and stuff like that, people go to see that's really what, these big checks and money is awarded to, and fame and magazine covers and all this stuff. It's backwards. It's complete backwards. Complete backwards things that makes no sense. Just like I talked about in the beginning about the Fit Expo. That's fitness. These influencers that are clearly on anabolics, taking and achieving physiques that cannot be achieved naturally. And if they say they are, they're lying to you. They're lying. They're lying. So, if you want to ask yourself what's possible naturally, the only way to find out is for you to go there. To me, now age, I don't know, a lot of people that go to the gym, why can't you do push-ups at home first? Because people, what they want to do is run right to calculus without doing any basic math. In my opinion, you should have a very good foundation in basic math before you advance to the next level. But these people, they don't have that. I've been going to the gym since the early 90s. Gyms. When I started, I had like really no clue, but I still had a foundation from baseball and doing push ups and stuff. You know, if you're going to do something, it requires a commitment. Through a very challenging modifications to the way that you're doing things now, your diet. You know, I have this friend, he's in his 60s and he started to have these health problems, and he I gotta go to the doctor. I said, look what you're fucking doing to yourself, dude. You need a doctor to tell you that? It's like, God. I was on the stationary bike, and I'll tell you what I do because I really wanted to work on leaning out for contests. And I really didn't know, you know, how to do this because you can see I'm not, that big. So I noticed that just by doing generic leg exercises on machines, I wasn't getting cut up enough. So I started with this interval type training on a stationary bike where 30 seconds easy, 30 seconds fairly difficult, alternating and then going for distance up to a half marathon, 13.2 miles. I would do this routine after a brief leg workout, not very hard. Because when you see these guys that are moving these poundages and heavy things that are big, that applies to them. If you're gonna be natural, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to rewire this type of thinking. These guys that you're seeing that are doing these generic things, hoisting heavy weights and thinking that's gonna work for you. When these guys are taking what they're taking is you see they're not showing you what they're showing you is not really of any value to you, and that's the problem with bodybuilding, in general, that the term, people think, wait, bodybuilding, pumping iron, and yeah, I get all that, but the term, that style was redefined in the late 90s through EAS and Bill Phillips. The Body of Work, greatest documentary I've ever seen on real bodybuilding. The right way, the natural way, and how this impacted the lives of those people and all the people that work to adopt the fitness lifestyle, and it just kind of phased out. Like, I guess he sold the company and stuff, but that is such an important documentary. I mean, look that up on YouTube. Watch the whole thing. It's like 2 hours, but his brother Sean Phillips uploaded it. But in my opinion, the bar none, the most informative, best film on overall what I would consider natural bodybuilding is Body of Work. And it's this narrative, this generic thing of what most people think bodybuilding is. It's just warped, complete warpedness. And Jack LaLanne, again, mentioned third time, was probably the best example, in my opinion, of the way to go about this. But you don't have to stick in this linear mind of that's it. Well, you look at guys like Bruce Lee. Why can't people say, hey, why don't, like Bruce Lee talked about Jeet Kune Do, taking from different styles, movements, and things. Why is it, we see like this UFC in a way, and why can't people incorporate a little bit of like ultimate fighter training, calisthenics, martial arts, bodybuilding, why can't you combine these things? Why is it like, when boxing, you got to go to a boxing school, take a boxing class from, why? I just told you, I incorporate 45 minutes of bike work after my leg workout, and noticing the best results I ever had in my life. What is this generic type of compound movements that after a little while they become mundane and rudimentary, kind of, you're not going to see much progress because it's the same body's used to it already, and lift heavier. It's nothing. The generic, when you're a kid, your mom tells you get big and strong, and then you know what happened by the time you stopped, and you're just gonna be a generic a fatty like most of these people out there. The big and strong. That's what I see in the gyms. I'm looking at people. They're doing watered down powerlifting. Nothing. They're not really using their body. Like, or these people that just do one thing, the calisthenics. Most of these people that don't have really any shape in their body either. Like I see now, there are exceptions. There's a couple dudes out there, but I don't know if they're cheating or they're taking stuff. I don't know, man. All I know is what I put myself through, what I see. I haven't even touched on diet yet. I haven't even, because there's so much to cover. But I guess the overall consensus of this opening is to try to understand that when you go to a gym and you see all these machines around, don't be one of them. Don't be. If you're like everybody else and you're doing like everybody else, and I mean, I guess you know I mean, if you're part of the really older crowd just trying to have mobility, I mean, the machines were designed for the sick. I mean, do you understand that? Like, there's no powerlifting competition with machines. I can lift the whole machine. You're not lifting anything. You're not showing anybody anything. You're showing people you're an idiot, is what you're doing. There's a calf raise machine in my gym, horizontal calf raise machine. It goes up to what, 400 pounds. I use like 40, 60 pounds on there because the whole thing is I'm trying to get into the fucking muscle to really get that's development, but the to show the shape when I'm on stage. I don't give a fuck if I can push the whole machine or whatever. That counts for fucking nothing. Leveraged momentum, I had a good friend, God bless him, but his thing is seeing if he can push the whole machine, like it doesn't fucking matter. A lot of people just don't know what they're doing. They're incredible time wasters in there. Either they're you know to be able to extract the most value for whatever you're doing in life, you need to really understand what you're doing. And I've gone to the gym thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times. And I've seen people that I can basically watch somebody and immediately tell you what they know. I can see what they know, and I can also see what they don't know. Because it's like a doctor's diagnosis. I've been around this so long through all my research and learning. I know what's going on. I'm not saying I know it all, but I've spent an immense amount of time studying and learning, along with my degrees and credentials and you know real experience. I mean that's just it's funny because it seems like it counts for nothing. It's really funny that the way this kind of works that nobody will pay you. They'll pay a 25-year-old for to be a personal trainer with somebody twice the age with 10 times more experience. I shouldn't even have to try. I mean, but and I don't because I look at it for what it is. I realize people don't care when they're young. They care about vanity, just looking like or whatever. And then when they're old, really old, they care about mobility. It's just the whole thing through the middle you don't see very often because most people in their 30s, 40s, whatever, the 50s, they're just want to make money. They're stuck in that matrix, which is a whole nother subject, which I will cover some other time. But it's just really amazing to me the linear way that most people think. Just yeah, this is I'm not gonna say anything. I know this one guy can't even do one push up properly. Not one dip properly. Not one full, really good. And when I say push up, I'm not talking about, extending out, locking out your elbow or dip to where you have to lock out, but fairly deep push up or dip. And I know he takes stuff, he's admitted it, but it's like just amazing to me. Like it's not about the work. And that's what you have to understand is we're living in this synthetic era where the people that are looking for the attention, that want it, they're not they're doing it's an off tangent of what fitness is supposed to be. You know, today I did, and I've been modifying my workout routines because again, I think your body gets so used to generic type things that you know, I will agree with some of the things when I hear Arnold talk about because I know your tricks. I know your tricks. there is nuggets of wisdom from these people, but just doing what these guys do, these guys they're took all these steroids and doing that shit, trying to copy their exercises and thinking you're going to get something off of it, really is a linear, narrow-minded way of doing things. Again, those machines were designed for the sick and to make things easy and comfortable. They're now they do have a place because I utilize some of them, but this type of pushing heavy weights on the machine, that it's it just what I see in the gym, and I just it's like I'm not focusing on that, but most people just don't realize how much what they're missing out on, missing out completely. My mom, her claim was that, well, it takes like a year to make any realistic change. And I showed her the video, or introduced her to the body of work, basically in 1 year, out the other. How these people in 12 weeks, 84 days or whatever, in less than 3 months, were able to make dramatic changes. 12 weeks. And, I adopt that type of philosophy with with my, not my training, but the diet, especially. And if you're not going to do things right, then what do you expect? You're half-assed, not investing, in yourself, and you're not going to get much of a return. I see these people running, these women, whatever, and a lot of these people don't even look healthy. I can just tell when I see it because they're not investing. They're not supplementing properly. Their diet. They're doing things that don't have much value. I just noticed that. And when you do things that don't have much value, you're not going to get any real return. Obsessed with the scale. The mirror is the judge. Scale, it has, is a scale, but still, it's not the ultimate indicator. I'm gonna Next video we're gonna start talking about diet, but the whole thing is without a foundation, again, you're most are doing like not even scratching the surface of really how to really go about, getting in what I would call first class condition. Not even close. It's like what I call the bank of fitness. Going to the bank and making a 7-cent deposit or something, or going there and taking out a quarter, 25-cent withdrawal. Like when I go to the bank of fitness, I want to cash big checks. I want to withdraw real, extract real money from the bank. Most people are pennies. They're going there. They're withdrawing pennies. They're not getting nothing. That's really how I look at it. I look at because I can tell. I can see it in every exercise, whatever somebody's doing, whatever they can do or trying to do, whatever. I know most are not getting nothing. Nothing. Just about nothing. So, in a sense, most are wasting time. Your time, your life, you can waste it however you want. I've been on this for 42 minutes. Is it a waste? Not really. It leaves something behind, knowledge of somebody that's been, you know, competed in natural bodybuilding contests for 2 years that, people don't even know. They don't care. It's really amazing to me that fitness, the way it is, the way the people don't, you, it's all backwards. I call it like a race to the bottom. The attention that what people give to things that have no value. If you go around Beverly Hills or whatever in LA, the beautiful houses, these people, wow. I wonder who owns that. And you see what they look like. And you're like, what? Millions of dollars, into how something looks on the outside, houses, whatever, the inside, beautiful homes and everything. And their health is worth zero. They look terrible. They can't, can't, they couldn't run a quarter mile if they had. They couldn't, some of these people can't even walk a block without nothing. And they got millions and millions of dollars. 10-cent body. And they got money. I mean, it's amazing to me the way how everything is inverted backwards. It's like the biggest slap in the face, to say that health and fitness is worthless, kind of is what it is. Well, not to me personally, but it's just again, that's a whole nother subject. Getting into the matrix and the thoughts of what has value really is amazing. It's really amazing. This guy, I don't even talk to him anymore because, our, we're not on the same page with things, and it's okay. But he has a Lamborghini, and every once in a while he takes it out to drive it around the block or something, and he goes to me, he goes, "You can't compete with machinery." He goes to me, "Oh, when I walk around, all the women look and everything like that." And it says, so they look for a second, and it doesn't mean nothing. I walk to the gym, I take my shirt off, and to me, it's like a walking Lamborghini. He goes, "Yeah, you can't compete." And I go, "Yeah, no, yeah." And everybody will try to convince you otherwise, like that what you're doing it doesn't hold any water. What's important is the guy has the expensive sports car to show, the generic type, and I just don't prescribe to any of it. I think you should be the expensive sports car. But to do it right requires a shit ton of work and sacrifice that most they're not gonna do. I haven't even touched on diet, but I'll leave a primer for it, with concluding with this. And do you really know everything you're eating every day? Everything you're putting into your gas tank? Do you write it down? Of course not. Most people eat what tastes good. It's all garbage, dude. Most garbage. You know how many people I see sitting out there, young, eating ice cream out there? Tastes good, yeah, young. It's all gonna catch up to you faster than you can possibly imagine. God, this one woman that I know, I she's got mental problems. I don't even talk to her anymore, but like I don't know if she didn't realize what happens if you don't take care of yourself. But I saw her a couple weeks ago for the first time in like 15 years, and I was horrified of what I saw. Horrified. Now, negating the mental issue, if you don't take care of yourself, and when I mean take care of yourself, I mean keeping yourself in first class condition, you are asking for serious health problems as you get older. Serious. And you need a doctor to tell you that? It's amazing to me that it's like people just where their minds are. You gotta make a living. That's how they make. You ain't gonna fucking dude. That money ain't gonna mean shit when you get older and your body is fell apart because you didn't take care of it. brainwashed into thinking like most. It's fucking amazing to me. Which will be in another episode. I'm gonna cover all the matrix type thinking that you're gonna. It's amazing. After a contest, I will go to In and Out Burger after a contest and treat myself to a burger. Not one time I go to that place that there's no crazy lines and everything. All these young people, all garbage. It's fucking garbage. Amazing. You know? And so I know you're gonna have, what are you eating? What do you eat? What do you eat? I'm gonna get into that in another discussion, but it doesn't matter. I want you to think about what you're eating. What do I eat? Your engine does not run like mine. If you are a generic fatty, you're I'm running on a Lamborghini type engine. Most people, it's like one of those tanker trucks filled with gas. So if you start exercising, they're going to be burning glucose. And the gas is leaking everywhere. It's all it takes is one match and the whole thing's going to burn, blow up. So basically, if you're asking, well, what do I eat? What do I eat? You got gas every fucking where, dude, in a gas tank. What are you fucking worried about? Start with cutting out the fucking garbage, all of it. Go fucking hungry. Most people can't. They can't. Because they don't have they're lazy. They don't have the willpower. They don't want to change. Change requires work. Work requires effort. Most people don't have that in them. The number one killer in the United States is heart disease. Fatties, not surprised. Number two is cancer. Here I am, a guy in his 50s, trying to help people understand and unveil, trying to show people that there's not just one linear way of thinking when it comes to this. It's really amazing, though, like what people put their stock in. Hmm. Anyway, that's going to be all for now. But if you get anything off of this, just try to understand that your vehicle. This is all you're going to get. The body can take a lot of punishment. You don't have to be a maniac, psycho David Goggins type workout, running 1,000 miles a day. But just understand that most people don't take care of themselves. And what I mean take care of themselves, keeping them in first class condition. They don't. because the convenience of garbage is too easily accessible. And most foods that are good for you don't taste very good. They don't taste at all. But you'd have to have the mentality of the understanding that you're eating for function, not for taste. Which unfortunately is kind of brainwashed into you in reverse when you're young. It's good tasting fried foods and everything. Pizza, burgers, fried chicken, whatever, sodas, all garbage, all garbage, man. It's really amazing, isn't it? That's how they're going to get rid of people. They're going to make them fat and happy. But then once they get into their 40s, you're going to see the happiness is going to dissipate because you're just you're using you're selling yourself way short to most people in their unhealthy lifestyles. Really amazing, you know. I don't want the attention, I don't care. In my mind, what I know should have so much value, but people don't care. They don't until it's too late, generally.